Hi, it's Chris Watkin here, and I'm joined by Ben Moore, the man with the beard, a man who appears more on social media than myself. Ben, thanks for joining me today. How do you deal with smoke being blown up your arse all the time?
Do you know what, mate? I know you say I appear on social media more than you. I don't. You're the king of consistency, and I really, really, really respect that. I don't always agree with what you say. I think you put a lot of value out there. I don't always agree, but I do admire your consistency. And whether you like it or not, you've built incredible authority within the space. As a result of that, you've earned every single inch of it. I also noticed that you get a lot of positive interaction. You get a lot of people blowing smoke up your backside. I will answer this question, but I'm really intrigued to know how you deal with that, because arguably you get it more than I do.
I've got a wife who slaps me down as soon as I get big-headed, because it can show its head, it rear its head, hubris, I think they call it, and she'll basically say, "Get upstairs and clean the bathroom," or do stuff like that, or "You're getting too big for your boots." I think the magic thing is when you put positive feedback on a pedestal and you start to believe your own hype and bullshit, that's when you get a negative comment, it really does screw your head up. It's interesting. I've deliberately started to write for Property Industry Eye because I want to be sniped at, writing some quite controversial stuff, because sometimes they could be right. Just because someone says something negative doesn't mean they're wrong. And just because someone says something derogatory or nasty doesn't necessarily, again, mean they're wrong. If someone can take time out of their day to take a derogatory comment or a pop at you, and waste time doing that, then I feel pity for them and sorrow for them. And when someone blows smoke up my backside, my normal response is just to say thank you and then move on.
That's interesting, Chris. So you're kind of putting yourself in a position consciously where you're actively encouraging negative feedback. Now, I know from my first-hand experience, positive feedback is great. It's nice to get nice comments, but I kind of see it and I move on with my day. If someone says something negative, it can be a thorn in my side for a long period of time. I've got better at shortening that and getting better at dealing with it over time the more I've done it. Has your relationship with that been similar in terms of if someone was outwardly rude or derogatory to you online, would that overspill into other areas of your life, or have you been able to stamp that out for quite some time now?
One thing I have learned is that my wife is very... I don't tell my wife because you don't tell your other part because they want to defend you and they can't see the context of it. I think that, again, just the magic thing is I follow a chap called Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V as you might call it, and basically just followed him, and all the answers are out there on social media, and he basically taught me to embrace feedback, good and bad, listen to it, but don't take it too personally. So don't put the good stuff on a pedestal and don't let the bad stuff screw your life up. And again, if you don't mind me saying, everyone is that perfect? No, it's not. No, it's not. And sometimes I can get too big for my own boots. Sometimes, I lost out on an interview recently, and I thought, I should have fucking had that interview. And then basically half an hour later, when the chimp brain kicked in, went away, actually, I wouldn't have done that interview anyway, and I just realised that I've been pissing off that particular company for an awful long time, so I was never going to get that interview.
Right.
So again, that monster can slowly, very slowly build up, and that's just advice for you, mate. You don't know it's growing. And every once in a while, you just need a pinprick just to realise entitlement, and you're not entitled to anything in this world. I think the magic thing is, if you're going to put your head up there and you are going to create content, and I'm the first to admit that sometimes I throw in stuff almost like a hand grenade in the room and just walk away just for the fucking laugh of it. okay, just to create knowing
Conversation.
like Rightmove pie charts.
Yeah, sure.
I just keep banging on about it, but you can guarantee if I'm bored one day, I'll just chuck one in and it's like tramp on chips. Everyone piles in. Here we go. These are just my opinions. They're just my opinions. I don't know if they're right or wrong. You either agree with me or disagree with me. Most people say I mainly agree with you. I think it'd be a boring old world if everyone agreed with you.
Yeah.
So that's how I deal with it. How do you deal with it?
For sure. I'd echo a lot of what you just said, to be honest, Chris. So without risk of like repeating everything you've just said word for word, I think there's real value in what you said about not getting overly attached to the positive and not getting too bogged down with the negative. I know I've touched on this a couple of times now, but again, I'll come back to this whole thing of this stoic-like outlook where you can't control the opinions of others, but you can control your emotional response, right? So it's okay to have that initial knee-jerk reaction as to, oh, that's amazing, or oh, that's awful, but then get some perspective, take a deep breath, and realize that opinions aren't inherently good or bad. It's just your perception of what is good and bad. And when you can get better at managing that filter, I think you get better at managing feedback. And like you said, maybe sometimes it triggers us if someone says something negative because they are right.
Yeah,
and maybe that's like you subconscious thinking, shit, like, yeah. And then sometimes looking inward within yourself and realizing, actually, I'm not the oracle of all knowledge, or I didn't know that, or just, it can almost be a bit of a bruise to the ego if you let it. But if you embrace it and you learn from it, you come back tomorrow with a stronger post because you're more well-rounded. So yeah, I think it's interesting. We've got full control over the lens that we use, but not those external factors. So don't become too attached either way.
Thank you for your time today.
And you.